Yesterday, I didn't feel good. The day before that, I didn't feel good either. But today, I felt fantastic. I started training directly after lunch, around 10 past 12. So, I felt fresh and healthy, happy, hydrated and energetic, and not groggy, because obviously I didn't wake up just before the workout. I woke up a couple hours before. I had a long night's sleep. I slept like 10 hours, 40 minutes, which is really long. But I'm a teenager, so I have the ability to do that, although the sleep will be cut back on slightly in the future, and I'll try to have a proper routine so that I don't, every other day sleep 4 hours and then sleep 11 hours. That's not sustainable. What you want is a consistent length of sleep and a consistent amount of sleep and a consistent time to go to bed at and a consistent time to wake up at. That when you do these things, that's when you reach optimal sleep quality and health and everything else, optimal recovery, when your body knows what's going on. So all your sleep cycles are fine-tuned and regulated so that everything will go as smoothly and as efficiently as possible. That is when you have the ability to sleep slightly less, maybe up to an hour less on average, but still feel fresher. Now, my goal would never be, at least not at this point in my life, at least not at this point in my life, to decrease the amount of hours I sleep as a long-term goal. But my goal is to see if I can sleep around 8 hours a night and still feel fresh and feel good. Because that's the most important thing, is how much do we need to sleep to feel fresh, good, healthy, happy? How much is that? That's going to be different from person to person. And for me, I believe that, or I have believed that in the past, the optimal amount of sleep for me has been around 9 hours per night. But I'm going to see if I can bring it down to 8 hours if I stay consistent with my bedtime and consistent with my wake up time, whatever. So, I'm also going to work on going to bed way earlier and waking up way earlier. But I'm making progress on that. The last couple of days, I'm going to tell you basically the last 3 or 4 days. So, first day, I went to bed at 3:30 a.m. Day after that, I went to bed at 2 a.m. Day after that, I went to bed at 1 a.m. Day after that, I went to bed at 12 a.m. And tonight, I went to bed at 11:40 p.m. So, that's why I feel fresher. It's because I'm taking my life back. I'm taking control of my life. I'm not bullshitting around as much. There's still a lot of work to be done there, as basically my whole family has already been working around the house for multiple hours by the time I wake up. But the goal will be to, over time, work my bedtime further and further down, and to also go to bed at an earlier and earlier time, so that I can make the most of my daylight, make the most of my day, and so that by lunchtime, I've done a lot of important stuff, and now I have way more free time. So that will be the not long-term goal, but the short-term goal is to take back control of my life and to maximize my productivity and maximize my fun hours, and not kind of get in that middle ground where, I spend multiple hours per day procrastinating, using methods of procrastination that don't give me any happiness and any value and any fulfillment. For example, I may use YouTube for 1.5 hours just to, avoid training because I'm tired, instead of, being even more efficient and either going to train straight away or taking a nap or walking the dog. Basically, I need to try to make my life more efficient, and I know that there are a lot of hours in a day, because on school days, I feel like the day is so long. And the reason why it's so long is because I sleep a lot less, and because I wake up a lot earlier, and because I only do boring stuff the entire day. But, I mean, it's just a mathematical thing, right? So I'm going to bring out the calculator because I'm stupid, but I probably shouldn't need it. But anyway, there's 24 hours in a day, right? If you sleep 8 hours, that leaves you with 16 hours to do stuff. Now, if you were to... Whatever, I'll put this calculator away. If you were to sleep for... if the day is 24 hours, if you were to sleep for 6 hours, now you have 18 hours to work with, right? And if you were to sleep for 4 hours, you have 20 hours to work. Now, that's too little, but it's a good thing to think about. If you do what I did the first night of the summer break, sleep, I believe, what was it? 13 or 12 or 13 hours. Let's say it's 13, right? That means you only have 11 hours to be awake. That's basically half the time if you were to sleep 4 hours. So, basically, if you sleep less, you have more room for productivity if you can stay fresh and sharp and focused and recovered, right? But I would rather sleep a bit more and feel a bit better, and therefore have to work a bit faster, if that makes sense. But luckily, I'm not a billionaire who needs to maximize every minute of his day. I'm simply a regular citizen who needs to try to find a couple more hours per day. And a couple more hours, I believe I can easily accomplish that goal of finding those hours. But it's not going to come without a cost. It's going to require a small to intermediate amount of discipline to get to that point. Just like these rows require discipline. I hate these rows. They are painful. They're just uncomfortable. Just like good mornings, I hate rows. And guess what? The rows and the good mornings are basically my two most important exercises to build up my back so that I can deadlift big weights. So, I mean, the body isn't stupid. It wants you to avoid doing the hard stuff because that burns a lot of calories, so it will leave you more likely to starve. And not only that, it leaves a large recovery requirement, and you're less safe in the wild if you are walking around all sore and in need of recovery, but you're hungry and you're starving, and then you burn even more calories by trying to recover yourself. Obviously, nowadays, we don't live in a society where food is an issue. I'm going to basically say that 99.9% of people in Sweden don't really have a problem with the amount of calories they can, get a hold of. Rather, nowadays it's more an issue of where those calories are coming from, if we're eating healthy or not. And there are also issues in other countries where they can't get a hold of food, and that's terrible. That's a terrible, terrible thing. But luckily, that doesn't apply to me. However, my biology still thinks that way, and that's why your body doesn't want you to destroy it. And that's also why your body doesn't want you to gain muscle. It's resistant to gaining muscle because muscle burns calories, and it also gives you a ability to burn calories. All right, if you have more muscle mass, you can put in more total work. All right, work is force times distance, and you can produce more force times the same distance, or the same force times a longer distance if you're trained. So basically, you can do more work in a day, you can burn more calories in a day if you have a lot of muscle mass, and therefore your body doesn't want you to have a lot of muscle mass. So what we're doing here is we're training basically every single day with high volume and overcoming these, partially, I want to say genetic, but it's not just genetic when it comes to my body, it's all of us. Your body doesn't want you to gain muscle. That's why you have to work for it. And that's precisely what I'm doing right now with this program. This is a program that is high in volume, high in effort, and frequent. All right, and a lot of people would say this isn't high in volume. You're kind of right, but if you think of it this way, just for the squat and just for the legs, all right, we're doing 6 very heavy squats per week. 6 very heavy squats, well over 90%, sometimes 95% or above. So 6 very heavy squat reps. Then you're also doing 6 heavy sets of 3, 6 heavy triples. So now we're at 12 hard sets per week. And yes, you can count it like that, by the way. Even if it's a 3 rep set, if it's basically a max, you can count that as one set, because you're hitting the upper threshold muscle fibers during the last rep, during the reps closest to failure. And when you use heavier weights, you just basically, you reach those reps quicker. So we're already at 12 sets per week for legs. Now you think of individual parts of the leg that get slightly more worked on different exercises. For example, the good morning. We have 3 sets of good morning 5 days a week. So that adds 15 sets. So now we're at 27 sets per week for legs. And the good morning works the glutes and the hamstrings and not the quads, but I'm still going to count that as leg sets, right? Same thing with the glute bridges. The glute bridges are performed 5 days a week also, and that is a total of 15 sets more per week, but that's purely for the glutes and the hamstrings. Now we're at 42 sets. What about my rows? Believe it or not, my hamstrings and my quads both get worked pretty hard on my rows, and if we count the rows as half sets, we're doing 3 sets times 5 days also. Let's just say that is plus 7 kind of sets, right? Since those sets are kind of halfway there in terms of quality. Then you also have the jump rope, which adds fatigue but doesn't really do anything. So I'm not really going to count that as a muscle building thing. And then you also have the run. So in total, and I probably missed something. Oh yeah, I missed the deadlifts. Now you add 6 really hard deadlifts per week, one of which is basically an absolute max. So that is 55 sets per week for legs. This is why Bulgarian training is superior to many other systems, guys. 55 sets per week for legs. Add to that jump rope 6 days a week and running 1 day a week. This is a hell of a lot of volume. Most people cannot handle this. If you only train with 2 leg days per week, because you're doing a push-pull legs, rest, split, that would mean that you need to do 27 or 28, something along those lines, sets on both of those leg days to basically reach the same volume as I'm reaching. And my program's still superior to yours in some cases, since I'm able to do that volume every single day and stay fresh. So if you were to do 30 sets, for example, those last 20 sets, you're really tired and you can't really do them properly. You're not going to be able to get the same amount of reps. You're not going to be able to get the same amount of mechanical tension, and you can't build as much muscle when you're super fatigued and your sets drop in quality. So these are the secrets of Bulgarian if you do it my way, which is adding volume on top of just the single lifts, like the bench press 1 rep or the squat 1 rep maxes. Yeah. Now the downside to my program would be you're constantly fatigued 24/7. Now my program right now is basically in the first week of a, I don't know how many week long program, probably like 8 or 9 weeks, 7 weeks maybe. But my point is, I haven't accumulated the fatigue yet. But in 3 or 4 or 5, 6, 7 weeks, I'm going to walk around every single day with a low level of fatigue in my legs, constantly, in my back, constantly, in my forearms, constantly, in my chest, in my lats, constantly. This is the byproduct. This is the side effect of training like this. You can't you can't have your cake and eat it too. All right? You can't save your money and spend it at the same time. Although many people try to do that. Yeah. There's downsides to everything. The downside to my program is you're often susceptible to overuse injuries, which I haven't been affected by since I've really balanced out my program perfectly so that my whole body fails at the same time and not any specific body part. But yeah, overuse injuries are a big one. Getting a specific place in your body that just can't handle the workload, that gets worse and worse by every single day. That's a risk of this training system. Another one would be boredom. I've had few people comment on that my workouts are boring, that I'm basically just hitting my head against the wall every single day. Just keep hammering along at the exact same pace, exact same shit every single day. Only thing that changes is the weight. That's true, but you can't argue with results. And then the other negative of it would simply be that it's really fun to do other stuff. Now, okay, that's not really negative. Now I'm saying the same stuff that I just said, but yeah, it would be nice and fun to do a different system where I can feel the benefits of being fresh, where I have different days with different objectives and, explosive days and max effort days and things of the sort, and cardio days and rest days. That would be an interesting thing. The only problem is I've done that historically and I've never ever made as much progress as I did with Bulgarian training. And I know that Bulgarian is close to optimal. It's not quite there the way I'm running it right now. I can't really gain muscle. Put it this way. Right now, I can't really come up with a program that would make me, over a 12-week period, gain more muscle than I can with Bulgarian. Alright, it could be similar, but the amount of progress that I make with Bulgarian training, with training every single day, with hammering away, and with adding a little bit of weight every single week to multiple lifts, this is a winning concept, alright? It's compounding. Now, it's not quite compounding in the way that Warren Buffett likes compounding. It's not 7% more per year, if that makes sense, but it's 2.5 kilos more per week. So, technically, if you were to go indefinitely, you'd have diminished returns in terms of percentage. And you also have diminished returns since you can't go forever. But across a Bulgarian training cycle that could last anywhere in between 1 to 3 months to 4 months to maybe even 6 months, I can make a tremendous amount of progress. That's all that matters. Build a tremendous amount of muscle. Notice how my energy level is way better than yesterday. That's because I've been able to sleep and I didn't train in the middle of the night. So, I'm going to stop talking. Thank you guys for listening. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Maybe I'll even be even fresher.